Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Come on, move in closer. Your body language is saying no, no, no. You're not even on screen.
But my eyes are saying yes.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. I'm here, sort of, with Chris Potter, who looks... What?
I'm just bracing myself.
I know.
This is one of those days I came in and she's just like, oh, I don't know where my brain is today.
You have someone calling?
We have a call.
A call already?
Maybe they know where my brain is.
No, they're saying that there's no sound.
They're saying there's no what?
Sound.
No sound.
Probably.
Hello.
Hi, is this Lynn Cullen's line?
It is.
Yes.
Are you going to tell us there's no sound?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I didn't have any yesterday either.
You didn't have any yesterday either?
No.
Maybe we should do this entire episode in like a
I
shadow
didn't call though.
play.
I figured it was
Okay.
my computer, but then I listened to Chris Moore's show this morning that was on podcast, and it came through just fine.
All right, our crack technical staff is on it.
Okay, thanks. I
Thanks
just
for
was
that.
wondering if I should check my own computer, so I'll wait to see what happens.
No,
Okay.
I'm sure it's
Okay.
fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's probably the only part of the show she'll actually hear.
Now,
So
does
should
that
we
mean
just
no
should
one
we
can-
just knock off for 15 minutes while this gets straightened out, or?
Wait a minute. Hey.
Are we going to write a sign that says no sound?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to let them know we know. Tell them.
Audio only should be fine, but if the video doesn't.
Video only. All right. This is
Okay.
just good radio right here. It's happening.
Here we go.
But now people who are watching
You
us
can't
on
even see
video,
that.
don't call and tell us
Yeah,
that
we
there's
know.
sound for you. We know that there's sound for you.
There is sound?
There's sound for people watching video only, apparently.
No, audio.
Oh, audio. I'm sorry.
Audio.
All right. Oh, okay. So there we go. All right.
Okay. If so, shall I tell them to go to audio only?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. Yeah. Wait.
Or you know what, folks? Go out and buy a newspaper, huh? How about a little love for print journalism? A lack of audio has never affected the... What? All right. Now there's another call, too. This is great. This is more calls than we get when we discuss
Go to audio.
abortion. Okay.
Audio.
Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
We do have sound. I don't know what this other person was talking about.
Oh, we do have sound. Great. All right. Well, we apologize for the past 2 minutes of this show then. Thanks so much for calling.
Goodbye.
That's it. I'm leaving. I can't work under these conditions. That's it. I'll be skulking in my trailer. I'm out of here.
Because the audio
Okay.
has sound. The video.
Okay, well, so she's listening on a... What? We don't know. Look, we're going to go ahead with the show, okay?
Yes. Those of you on video only should learn to read lips.
Well, then we must enunciate
Clearly. Very good.
clearly and look at the camera.
This doesn't happen at the RNC, which is too bad, actually. It probably would have been easier to take if you did. Although then you'd just be looking at Chris Christie and Rick Santorum.
I take it then that you subjected yourself to observing the...
I didn't watch it live. I spent some time this morning watching and reading transcripts, so I got to see the unblemished glory of Chris Christie telling us what a wonderful guy
he is.
That was really amazing.
What was that
I heard
about?
that. I saw that referred to as the me note address, actually, which I thought
Instead of
was,
the keynote,
instead
the
of the
me
keynote,
note.
it was the me note. Yeah.
Yeah, he I guess he blew it. I haven't heard one positive review. And I didn't listen to it myself. All I heard, he didn't mention Romney until 16 minutes in, that he thought it was about him, that it looked like it was his. And
Santorum, too, only mentioned Romney's name 3 times during the course of his speech. He mentioned his daughter's name 5 times. So that tells you where.
The sick daughter.
Of course.
Which is so repulsive.
Screw those other kids.
I mean, yeah. No, I find that
I do too.
pretty.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing was
outrageous.
so Christie's up there and he's like, this is a time for tough talk and telling people not just what they want to hear. And meanwhile, their candidate, their nominee, is just like has the consistency of like some sort of parfait or something.
Right.
He's just he's this gloopy thing that you just can't like. What tough talk?
Yeah.
What tough
From
talk is
Romney?
like? Yeah.
What's he talking
Mr.
about?
Candor. Mr. Candor, Mitt Romney. It's just like, what are you doing? So it just basically looked like they gave this evening's like high-profile speeches to 2 guys who are setting themselves up for 2016.
That's right. That's what they did.
It's bizarre to me. And I don't really know how, I mean, I've never gone to a convention, by the way, so I don't know the first thing about like how they actually function or what, but does somebody from like Team Romney not like look at the speech and go, it'd be great if you could say something about the candidate.
You would think that if they're doing things right, that of course they've seen his speech.
Yeah. So like that was okay with them.
And somebody else, this morning I was listening to the Yappers, and somebody else said, what, Noreen? I can hear you. I hear you. I hear you. And Noreen says, I have both video and sound.
Right,
well, that's your problem, Noreen.
So let's move on.
Let's Noreen move on. Says no problems. No, your problems are just beginning if you
can hear us. Yeah.
Because clearly we don't have a clue.
Those without sound are the lucky ones.
That's right. They are. Not that we're anything much to look at either, though. Okay, so
this is really a self-abasement.
Somebody said that, this morning that he followed Ann Romney's speech, right?
Yeah. Mm.
And he said if a convention if the people who are organizing it are doing their job, things would sort of just go seamlessly one to the other, so that after Ann's speech and her loving husband is introduced, and then Christie takes the stage, should have. There has to be a handoff. He should have acknowledged. Oh, yeah. He didn't even acknowledge them then.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, he didn't the guy, whoever was talking, I can't remember, said, it's the kind of thing where, he should have said something like, wow, who gave me this slot? Like, I'm supposed to follow that? Right. But he is so full of himself. Right. That it wouldn't have occurred to him. Yeah. It was all the me note. Was
her speech that good? That's the one I didn't follow.
No.
I can't stand any of that stuff.
No, I can't either. She was there to make us all believe that Mitt Romney is actually a fellow
a sentient human being.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, so, that's like the Keith Rothfuss TV ads. Have you seen those?
No.
I made fun of these online a week or two ago. So Keith Rothfuss, who's running against Mark Kritz,
who, by the way,
yes,
was given a speaking. He spoke yesterday at the convention.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of Rothfuss, yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So Rothfuss has this ad out, and it's like, it actually says, there's this look of Keith Rothfuss, who does have a certain lizardly aspect to him. Regular guy, the word superimposed on his face, and it's like, he mows his lawn, and then you see him like mowing a lawn. He fixes bikes. It's like this total just
he puts his pants on.
Yes, he's not an alien. I'm Keith Rothfuss, and I'm not an alien. It's like that's the whole it's sort of he didn't actually say that, but that was sort of the message of the thing is like
that he's a real person.
He is an actual human being who if you engaged in a conversation with him, words would come out that would form intelligible sentences, and he knows to drive on the right side of the road. Like that's essentially I just think it's so what is that? So I just started coming up with other taglines for him online. It was just like, Keith Rothfuss, he uses enzymes to aid digestion. It's just like, like this is the standard now. This is the hurdle. He inhales oxygen and exhales carbon dioxide.
No, see, I haven't seen it. I'm
no,
sorry.
it's classic. It's just so that what set me off is I first got the Crits campaign response to it, where they're doing the fact checking, and Rothfuss says,
well,
some
how could
stuff
you fact check? Guys?
Right. Well, that's it. So that's great. So they do this chart of all the claims.
Lawn. What?
So they do this chart of all the claims in the ad, and like several of them just have blank spaces next to him. He fixes things, and there's just a blank space. He mows the lawn, blank space. He wants to repeal of Obamacare, and then there's like a whole sentence about why that's a bad idea, and then it just jumps back to, he's a regular guy, blank. We're speechless. It was funny.
Oi. Okay. Speaking of,
we didn't even talk about Santorum and that whole.
Oh, I didn't see his speech either. But somebody said he's obsessed with hands, right? So it was all about hands.
I have shaken the hand of the American dream.
No, he says I've held the hand. He was
no. It was shaking. And it has a strong grip. Again, is there nobody in the Romney campaign who understands what a metaphor is? You don't shake the hands of dreams. Like, I'm sorry.
This is an editor talking. You do not.
You do. This is just ridiculous. Like, that is just absurd. And then, of course, he goes on with this whole thing about how Obama is this lie, which has been discredited by anybody who's spent, including a lot of Republicans, that Obama is undermining the welfare to work thing, which first of all, it would probably be a good idea if he did. But second of all, he's not doing it. He was responding to, in a lot of cases, Republican governors who want more flexibility and less paperwork and things like that in terms of how they go about meeting their goals. You would think that flexibility for states was a good thing, at least when it comes to stuff like disenfranchising whole segments of your population or whatever. Then Republicans are all for states' rights. But when it comes to this, because they've got a cudgel to beat him up with, they want to beat him up with it. So that's Santorum's entire speech, just based on this, bad metaphors, ill children, and just completely
exploiting his own child to show what I guess, pro-life guy he is. I don't know what poor Bella. I mean, let her. Jeez, enough. Allison wants to. Allison wants to know this. I'm just. Why is she talking about the super PAC types here? Why are people willing to write multi-million-dollar checks to keep one man from being elected, or to get one person elected, but they aren't willing to pay taxes in a much lesser amount for the good of all?
You know what, Allison? You sound kind of like a socialist to me.
Well, I think he sounds a little naive. First of all, the people you're speaking of don't view taxation as what? They see it as confiscation, and also they don't give a damn about the good of all.
Yep.
That's just not their thing.
Yeah,
that's your thing.
They do if they can put their name on a plaque somewhere. They'll give $100,000 to, some charitable program as long as they get their name in a big, thing. But
and here's another thing. I happened to tune in late afternoon maybe, and they were doing, the roll call of the states, and they were all saying how, and the great state of so-and-so, which makes more, they're so stupid. Why?
Really?
Oh
like,
God. And
Idaho, home of famous potatoes. They're a great bumper.
Corbett, by the way, said, and, with Pennsylvania, he said, the birthplace of freedom. And our party, he said the first meeting of the Republican Party was held in Pittsburgh, and the first convention in Philadelphia, and Pennsylvania casts its votes for Mitt Romney. No, some of them votes for Mitt Romney, and 6 votes, and this was for supposedly for Ron Paul.
Oh.
But he didn't say Ron Paul. He said, and 6 votes for, I forgot Ryan's name.
Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan. So he had Paul.
Ooh.
He knew Paul.
Ooh, that's going to make the convention a little more dramatic.
He said Paul Ryan. But here's what I wanted to say. So in the roll call of states, there was one state, which one, I don't know, that proudly cast 28 votes for Ron Paul
Yes.
And 6 votes for Mitt Romney. And the woman at the podium says, in response, I guess who's keeping the tally.
Right.
6 votes for Romney. And then went on to the next state. They never. It's not that they didn't seat him. They wouldn't acknowledge. There was not one delegate and vote for Paul or anybody else was not acknowledged from the stage, and the talkers were saying, we never saw anything like this. What is this? It just seems unnecessarily petty.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
That's just gonna make those Ron Paul people crazier.
I mean, how do you? Oh my God! And then Corbett doesn't even get right, and he disses Paul in a whole different way by calling him Paul Ryan.
Whatever, you can't expect the guy to keep track of these little details. No. He's got a lot on his mind.
Okay. So the Republicans, do have their platform. Let me give you. Can I give you the?
I would love to hear this. Yeah.
Okay. No, but this is not this year's. This is
previous years.
Well, this is. Listen to this. The party platform says that Hispanics and others should not be barred from education or employment opportunities. Simply because English is not their first language.
As long as they can speak it.
No. You think... Okay. Also, the platform highlights the need for a dependable and affordable mass transit. Also,
What?
I know you're having trouble understanding what I'm saying here. Also, the plank on abortion says, quote, "We recognize differing views on this question in general and in our own party."
We just don't pay attention to them.
Okay. This is from the Republican platform in 1980.
Yeah, right. Oh, right.
The beginning of the Reagan Revolution. This is the convention that nominated their saint, Ronald Reagan. Mm-hmm. And they're not saying English is the official language, which is what their platform says now. Mm-hmm. They're not, saying, mass transit, anyone who's got a good job wouldn't need it, and so to hell with you. I don't know. This shows how far, if you look at we know what's happened to that party, but that just in 1980 with Reagan,
right?
They were for mass transit. They were acknowledging that even within their own party, there were different views on abortion.
Well,
wow.
Hey, in this year's platform, I believe they promised not to, beat the shit out of gay people. So let's not pretend this isn't an open-minded group of people here.
All right,
come on.
Okay, you're right. Oh, my
Jeez Louise.
God. So, tonight there's nothing happening except Ryan's speech, right? I'm not watching. It's ludicrous. I'm not watching it.
Really?
I can't stand the Democratic convention either. I can't stand conventions. They're awful. And you've never been to one.
No.
I've been to...
Wait, the city paper doesn't have a travel account.
I've been to 2.
Yeah.
Both in, get this, 1980.
Oh, so you were there at the...
I was there at that...
cesspit of liberalism.
And you know where that convention was?
Houston?
No, that was in Detroit.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, not now.
Cobo Hall in Detroit. And the Democrats, Madison Square Garden, New York City.
Yeah, didn't turn out so well.
And that was the one where Jimmy Carter said something. He was speaking and he said, he was introducing Hubert Humphrey. And he said, "And that great American, Hubert Horatio Hornblower." He did.
Horatio Hornblower.
I think so. Am I making that up?
I don't know.
All of a sudden, as I said it, I'm thinking, how could that possibly have happened? But I swear I think it did.
Horatio.
Okay, maybe, memory is such a strange thing, so you don't know. But I believe he said that. Those were the 2 things I remember.
If you believe it hard enough, it'll be true. That's
conventions
what I've learned
are
from
just
political
horrific.
Conventions.
They're horrific.
Yeah.
Because think of who's there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's Democrats or Republicans. Think of who's there.
It's party people.
Yeah. Oy. Oy. Ugh.
Yes.
So explain for me why the polls show that the Republicans are toast in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That they're not even. Apparently, they pulled
9
all
points.
their money out.
Yeah.
They're not. You're not seeing a lot of. You're not seeing the campaign. You're seeing some PAC money doing commercials here, but you're not seeing any Romney for president sponsored.
Right.
You're not hearing.
Yeah.
I'm Mitt Romney and I approve this message. You're not, because they're not spending a penny. Here.
Well, also, I think nobody feels comfortable with him approving messages anymore.
But here's my question. I'm serious.
Yeah.
So they've given up on Pennsylvania already. What is it with the voters of Pennsylvania that they're so clearly, going to be voting for the socialist liberal Democrat? And yet, look at our state legislature.
Right.
Look at the Corbett. Look at is it that only in the national election, the presidential election, that all of a sudden a whole bunch of Democrats crawl out from under rocks? What is it? That otherwise don't vote?
It's a really good question. I'm not sure I have the full answer to it. I think part of the answer, though, is this, that increasingly in the past several elections, the past several presidential elections, so much of what happens is determined by Philadelphia and the Philadelphia area suburbs. That's where all the votes are. And the big trend, I think, sort of demographically in terms of how voting patterns changes, what you're seeing is those Philly area suburbs, a lot of them are Republican voters, but they're the kind of Republicans who would have gotten behind the 1980 campaign. They believe in mass transit. They're not absolutist on abortion. And so a lot of those voters...
Why would they vote then for a Corbett? Because that's where mass transit happens.
You got to remember that Corbett didn't run as some crazy national level. He didn't. I mean, he ran as a guy who put legislators behind bars. And that was a bigger issue out in Philadelphia than it was here. I think in Western Pennsylvania. I mean, I've talked to reporters from that end of the state. I'm sorry, I take that back. That's actually not true. But I would say when he did things like, he put the legislators behind bars, he was big on a lot of the sex crimes and and that stuff. And that goes well with, the soccer mom set and whatever else. So, I mean, I think that he ran as, now he hasn't governed that way per se, although you could get a lot crazier than Tom Corbett in state government.
Oh, heck yeah.
I mean, I think that's important to note.
Yeah.
So he ran much more as a centrist type, as a moderate type, and and running as a law enforcement guy, it always pays off for you. So I think that's the difference, is just Philadelphia and the Philly suburbs in these presidential elections are going Democrat, partly because the Republicans are going so crazy. But on a local level, you look at Republicans who come from out that area, a lot of them aren't that kind of crazy, and so they win. And of course, in places like Cranberry, then they have the chance to vote.
The crazies.
Then they have the chance to vote for Daryl Metcalf and so on. Yep, go ahead. We have a call.
Oh, go ahead.
Hello. Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
I think deep down inside with the Republicans, they know that Romney's going to crash and burn, and that's the end of it. Then they'll start their party back over.
Yeah.
All this Tea Party bullshit and all that's going to fade away. They're like one-hit wonders, and that's the end of it, and they'll start over. I don't like them anyway, but that's my opinion.
Okay, thank you. It looks like you're agreeing with them. I don't agree with that.
Well, I mean, I think
that party will continue to pull to the right. No.
I think Romney's, and in a way, Corbett may prove to be in this situation a few years from now. But Romney's in this really tricky spot, which is he's caught in this transition between sort of an older guard Republican Party that didn't really give a shit about a lot of these, about the abortion issue in the same kind of way, but was willing to, jerk people around to get the votes, and this sort of insurgency that's rapidly taking over the party. So they're now stuck with a candidate who, frankly, they don't really care that much for. And honestly, a lot of them apparently don't think he can win. And that's why you got speeches last night of people setting themselves up for next time around. We have another call.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Lynn. Hey, Chris.
Hey.
We built that. Except that you're in a public stadium financed by tax dollars. Being broadcast by way of satellite,
Right.
which involves satellite communication, actual satellites put up into space by NASA way back when we had an active space program.
Yes, we built that.
We built that. We drove down here on interstate highways. We flew in on planes that are protected by federal sky marshals and guided by federal air traffic controllers. We built that.
We did. We built that. Woo!
And now I'm kind of sorry we did.
Hey, and how about that stirring speech by Ann Romney, the hardships that she and young Mitt faced in his graduate school days at Harvard. I mean, they couldn't entertain as much as they wanted. They couldn't have Dom Perignon and
they had to sell stock to pay for college.
Steak and lobster each night. I mean, not that they had to get jobs or anything.
Right.
No, they didn't have to get jobs.
Right.
Because they were, selling off part of his stock portfolio.
Exactly.
But remember, that means they had to touch the principal. They had to touch the principal.
They invaded their
off the actual
capital.
stock. They weren't just living on dividends.
Oh God! Oh the horror! The horror!
Ann Romney has walked those mean streets.
Yeah, she has.
That's a great call, man.
Well, it was a great
Well,
call.
no,
I just want
she
to.
hasn't. She's rode down them on her dressage horse.
All right. Yeah, great call. There's a better speech than any of them last night, even though I never heard any of them. Thank you very much. Great call. Hey, this just came in. Mary writes, last week, Paul Ryan gave an interview in which, defending his position that there should be no excuses for abortion, he referred to rape as, quote, a method of conception.
Right. I think Tom Smith did the same thing.
I had not heard that.
Yeah. Tom Smith, I think, did the same thing.
What?
Yeah.
Rape is now a method of conception?
Yeah.
What? You can't even.
You look at these guys. You look at like Tom Smith, the Senate candidate, who nobody had heard of until 2 days ago, because he said this incredibly.
Are you sure his name
stuff.
is Tom Smith? Because that's the kind of name you put down, in
when
the
you don't,
hotel
when
register.
you don't want to look into your past.
Oh yeah, my name is Tom Smith.
And he says this thing that it sounds like he equates his daughter's out of wedlock pregnancy with rape. You didn't hear about this?
No.
Really? Oh, this blew up. So Tom Smith is given a speech, and he's asked about his position on abortion. And he says, I, support no exceptions for, rape or incest. It's, da-da-da-da. And one of the reporters asks the obvious question, which is, well, how would you justify that position if one of your children
was raped?
And he said, well, actually, I've been in a similar position. My daughter got pregnant, and, we had a discussion, and, she chose life, and, da-da-da-da. And the reporter said, how is that similar to her being raped? Yeah, to being raped. And he kind of said, no, it's really not similar to rape. But you know what? From a father's perspective, it sort of is. So you look at a guy like that. Jess hadn't heard that either?
No, Jess is... all the women in the room are all staring slack-jawed.
Yeah. So,
what?
So then he went back, I spoke injudiciously, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that stuff. And I think what comes through with these guys is just they have seriously never, not for a moment, ever considered the actual implication of their position. They have never... I could actually respect... we got a call here coming in. Great, another one. Go ahead, caller.
What, do you live for calls?
Sure.
You get so excited.
Yeah.
You stop. Hello?
I can barely hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, yeah, the guy who said that having a pregnant, unwed teen daughter is a lot like being raped.
Right.
He then backtracked and said, that wasn't my daughter I was speaking of.
What? But he said it was his daughter.
Yeah, he did. He said as a father, but then his office issued a release saying he's not talking about anybody in his family.
It wasn't. When I said my daughter was pregnant, I didn't mean my daughter. And also by pregnant, I meant bought a hamster.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, it's the same.
Oh dear Lord!
And also, I haven't heard any mention of the most recent Republican president at any of this.
Oh no, he's like, who might you be speaking of?
Yeah,
we heard more about Rick Santorum's daughter than we did about good old George W.
Yes,
that's true.
Although they want us to forget that he was ever around. So.
I did see a photo. They had a photo. I think it was in the New York Times of the convention badges that were out there, and I noticed that some of the badges were a photo of George Bush that said "Miss me yet," and I guess the answer to that question is nope.
No.
I can't imagine those buttons were moving a lot.
In fact, he still haunts my dreams.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
No, don't miss it all.
Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's another great call there. Yeah.
Here's Chuck. My comments from the GOP convention last night. Santorum looked like he was in pain as he endorsed Romney.
Yes.
He was not at all convincing.
Yes.
And Romney came across more like a starstruck high school girl than a potential first lady. I thought her speech was juvenile in style. I don't know. Didn't see. Chris Christie's message to me came across as, don't worry, I'll be here for you in 4 years.
That's right.
And also Chuck says, I thought it was odd that Mitt Romney sat there in the auditorium and listened to the speeches.
That's right. I noticed
Usually
that too.
the candidate doesn't show up until the acceptance.
That's right.
Until the acceptance
That's
speech.
right. I noticed that too.
Having him there gave an appearance more like a celebrity roast type of atmosphere.
Mitt Romney is so lacking in principle. How lacking in principle is he?
And Chuck wants us to know, did you catch the shot of the Chick-fil-A box over by the band?
No, I did not see that. The Chris Christie phenomenon is interesting to me. I mean, here's a guy who I just got a feeling that if once these Tea Party guys really kind of look at where he is on some issues, they're not going to be so crazy about him. But because he just gets up and yells at people.
They like it.
That's. I mean, we've said it here before. It's just like you don't have to really say anything as long as you're just like, you people are morons. Yeah, that's the guy for me.
We love him. He's bellicose. He's pugnacious.
Right.
He throws his weight around.
Right. The other thing about his speech is he's just like, we need our leaders to stop tearing each other down. And then in the next breath, he's just like, all of this is these Democrats' fault. They don't want to tell you the truth. This is, it's just like, you can't really do both things in the same speech.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Meanwhile, these guys could win. I just want to say
that's the horrifying thing. They're still within a percentage
point. Here we are all
point.
laughing and saying, I mean, how could anybody in the right? And you know what? Yeah, no. You could be looking at the people that will be in control of everything.
Yeah.
Okay, I need a break on that frightening thought. We shall return.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper is now available on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com to read this week's digital issue or search for restaurants, bars, concerts, events, and movies on any portable device. Plus blog, Lynn Cullen, City Guide, CPTV, and Best of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania, and on the web at pghcitypaper.com, and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
This is the sound of a flat-screen television hurled off a building. Now the new bike your kid wants. These are the things you could have, all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Use Energy Star light bulbs and appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay, we're back. Yeah, so that was not a dream I had. Hubert, Horatio, Hornblower. We apparently have a YouTube of it. So
you should make sure this isn't like the 5-minute long speech or whatever.
Well, okay, well, let's just... So if are you doing it?
Yeah.
Or am I doing it?
I can do it. Just play it when you're ready.
Okay, hang on. I'm waiting for it to come up. It's up.
And the party of a great man who should have been president and who would have been one of the greatest presidents in history, Hubert Horatio Hornblower.
I wonder what happened there. Like, it must have been a like the. Did they have teleprompters in 1980?
Well, but I don't know.
And he just must have been like, oh my God, I have to say something.
No, a brain freeze or something. I mean, wow. Yeah, he said it.
Horatio Hornblower.
Hubert Horatio Hornblower. Was his middle name Horatio? It must have been.
I hope
At
so.
least that's maybe what did it to him. Because I knew it was a triple H. It was HHH. So Hubert Horatio Humphrey. And, well, there you go.
I didn't know him, Horatio.
I know. That's Shakespeare you're doing.
That is Shakespeare. That's right.
Okay. Thank you all for
other folks sent in stuff, too.
Sending me that. Okay.
Ooh, also, there's still time to earn 3 times award miles.
You stop reading my... Yeah, I know.
Thanks for that, caller. Anyway.
Okay. Jeez. So, I don't know. Oh, wait. Got some other stuff. Gotta...
You should read our paper, and then you could highlight stuff, and we could...
I know your paper's out. Just hang on.
Just saying,
I know.
That's what makes all this possible.
The 8th highest grossing film last week.
Oh.
Was...
America 2016 or whatever?
Was 2016 Obama's America.
Dun, 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 dun,
and
dun,
it took in over $6 million, finishing at number 8. And I was talking to somebody yesterday who went to see it.
Did they think it was funny?
No, they said it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that the place was packed.
Yeah, sure.
With fat white people.
That's the thing. I was thinking about that.
I'm sorry.
I was thinking about that. When I saw that movie was coming, I literally thought to myself, the theaters that show this film are going to clean up on concessions.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
These are people who are going to get the big drink. And they're like, yeah, take that, Michael Bloomberg. You just knew it was going to...
Here's what I think we should do. I mean, wouldn't you like to go see... I think people like us should go be in the theater, too, and laugh. And just laugh hysterically through the whole movie. Wouldn't that be
and then,
idea?
Walk out and just that was the best comedy I've seen all year. They should have gotten Andy Samberg for that. It was hilarious.
Wouldn't that be... fun to do?
Yes, yeah.
Might be dangerous, though, because those same big fat white people can have guns.
That's right. They're all back and eating the theater there.
Yeah.
Just in case.
God
forbid, there's another Aurora situation.
I am going to not let that happen.
That's right.
I'm watching this crap.
Dun, dun, dun. I also like how you can't really... I mean, they obviously... It's just like, well, he really didn't create a socialist utopia in his first 4 years, so we're going to have to campaign on this idea of all this scary crap that'll happen if he gets another.
Well, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I just think it's so hilarious.
Oh God. Oh, brain, come back. I had a thought.
Yeah, it's actually pretty smart because they've done that. They made a movie version of at least the first of the Left Behind books.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then with that weird Kurt Cameron guy who's always talking about gay stuff. And then what was the other of course the Ayn Rand part 1 of Atlas Shrugged,
I believe that bombed.
Of course it did. Yeah.
That totally bombed. But this one is not bombing. This one, they're eating it up.
Ironically, it was rejected by the free market, which I think is
the Ayn Rand thing.
Yeah. the free market has judged your free market laissez-faire philosophy, and you have been found wanting.
Yes, indeedy. But so anyway, this movie, goes on to apparently, according to the guy who saw it, is that they really are all over Obama for being an anti-colonialist.
Yeah, right.
Well, what do these imbeciles think the founding fathers were?
Exactly. Being a colony sort of leads to exploitation. Maybe we should do something about it. Yeah.
It's bad to be an anti-colonialist.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Well,
it's really funny, and
they don't know our history.
Right.
What are they? The stupidity of these people.
Yeah.
The absolute inability for me to get my head around anything that they swallow whole.
Right. Well, of course,
it's scary.
Of course, the difference was our colonialists were the same race as the people who colonized them, so that made it a problem.
Oh, maybe that is.
But
maybe you've happened upon it.
You shouldn't complain. And in fact, my understanding is the movie does include an interview with, I think, a distant relative of Obama's
they went
in
over
Kenya,
and they got a half
who says something to the effect of, Kenya might be better off if the British had stuck around. So essentially, they found room for that, which, again.
Okay, here's how D'Souza, who's doing it, introduces himself in the film. I am a writer, a speaker, a thinker.
I'm a joker, a smoker.
Midnight toker.
Get my living on the run.
Our president, this is what the film says. Our president is trapped in his father's time machine. Incredibly, the U.S. is being ruled according to the dreams of an African tribesman of the 1950s. This philandering, inebriated African socialist who raged against the world for denying him the realization of his anti-colonial ambitions is now setting the nation's agenda through the reincarnation of his dreams in his son. This is insane.
Yeah. But wait, Obama's dad invented a time machine?
I think that was sort of a metaphor.
Seems like there would have been an easier way to handle all this if he'd had one.
It is. The film says that Obama is deliberately making America more vulnerable to attack from Muslim extremists.
And the proof of that is there's been no attacks from Muslim extremists
during his and the real proof of it is how Obama took out Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, clearly.
What is with?
Yeah, it's amazing. It is really impressive, the ability to just sort of hold in mind that. Whoo boy.
So the other sort of, I'm sorry about the hurricane and stuff, but it is eating into the kind of attention, the media attention that the Republicans were hoping to garner anyway from this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's an angry Old Testament God they're sending that hurricane.
Right. Well, of course, that's the big joke, right? If this happens to New Orleans or whatever, it's God's judgment on the sinful ways of Louisiana residents. But
if it happens to Republicans...
Hey, it's just the weather. What are you going to do? Hey, sometimes it rains,
Yeah, I know.
Hurricanes, they happen.
Every life a little.
It's August.
That's right. Good God.
Science tells you that. All of a sudden, now we're big fans of climate science and weather.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right. I can't take any more. So we're going to cease that conversation.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Well, I am done. I'm finished. I really can't deal with it.
Until next week.
So what we'll do is we'll take a break, and when we come back, I have no idea.
That's the improvisational nature of radio.
I love it. We'll think of something.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Get Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. Go to citypapermobile.com now for Pittsburgh City Paper's brand new mobile app. Get the latest restaurant reviews, event listings, movie times, and of course, Lynn Cullen Live on your smartphone. citypapermobile.com.
All right, you guys, let's step forward, stand up, and volunteer to teach somebody to read. The Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council is in dire need of volunteers. The way they work is one-on-one. So the fact of the matter is they just don't have enough tutors. And that's where you come in, because they will teach you how to teach your student. But it does require you taking the first step. I could I could go on and on and on about how clearly this would be a good and positive use of your time. In any given 24-hour period, it might be the best thing you did with that day, right? I mean, sometimes if you think about it when you're going to bed and you think back, what have I done to improve the world today? Sometimes you can't come up with a dang thing. But if you become a tutor for the Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council, that question is always answered in the affirmative. Give them a call. Find out more about it. Seriously, 412-393-7600. Or check out the website at GPLC. See, Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council. .org.
Go to birdbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the Science Center, the History Museum, Carnegie Museums, and some of the best restaurants in Pittsburgh. This week, get 50% off tickets to the Pittsburgh Irish Festival. Birdbargains.com. Local deals, local merchants. Birdbargains.com.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Okay, and I just want to make sure that everybody does know of this incident that happened. Two of the attendees at the convention last night started throwing, get this, I mean, can't make this up. Do you know this? Started throwing peanuts at a black camera woman for CNN and said, as they were throwing peanuts, "This is how we feed animals."
Wow.
The RNC has issued a statement. They're not denying it. Yesterday, two attendees exhibited deplorable behavior. Their conduct was inexcusable and unacceptable. This kind of behavior will not be tolerated.
So what are going to happen?
I don't know. What's going to happen?
Mean? Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, do you think if they're delegates, they're still there? But this...
I'm shocked.
This is how we feed animals.
By allegations of racism against the Republican National Committee.
Good God. Okay, I just wanted everybody to know that. You have a newspaper, Potter. It came out.
Yes, it did. I hope.
You said it was a good one.
It is a good. Well, of course, they're all
good.
They're all good. No, this one we've got a couple of really good stories there.
Okay, so give us a heads up.
So we've got a story about a situation at the Pittsburgh Public Schools. There's actually, just coincidentally, this is a big story in all the other media too. Other media today are reporting about allegations that date back a decade and more,
right?
Involving a city. They have their own school security, and there's the question. There are questions about whether this district has ignored and kind of slow-walked allegations that this security guard was abusing students sexually. Yeah. We have sort of a story that kind of raises some similar questions. There was an educator who worked with autistic children, very seriously autistic children, who back in 2008, international and federal authorities came to realize he had been downloading child porn onto his computer from, I think, some website in Europe. He was investigated by investigators. Again, this is almost 5 years ago. Told them that he was indeed an educator. Nothing happened for 3 years. The case just appears to have lagged and gone absolutely nowhere.
I thought by law, they are to immediately alert, right?
Not so. The state has no requirement that the district needs to notify anybody. The district itself says they didn't know anything until this past April, when, for reasons that are unclear, because nobody in law enforcement wanted to talk about them, federal authorities sort of renewed their interest in the case and got in touch with District Attorney Steve Zappala's office. The guy was then arrested at that point. And very soon after, he just pled guilty to some misdemeanor offenses involving possession of child pornography in July. And basically, the parents just say, nobody told us even after he'd been arrested. The first real word they got that this guy wasn't going to be teaching there, and he was a very popular educator. Apparently, the kids seemed to really work well with him.
You know what school he was at?
He was at Minadeo Elementary.
Wow.
So
that's in Squirrel Hill, right?
Exactly. So the first word that they got that this guy officially wasn't going to be coming back is they got a letter from him saying, "I've retired." And then it took another month for the district to send a letter that sort of said, well, it wasn't really so much that he retired. It was that this other stuff had happened. And parents are still very upset. They still don't know. And the difficult thing, and you can imagine being a parent in this situation, these are severely autistic kids who are not verbal. They don't talk. And so the parents, of course, don't know what might or might not have happened in that classroom. It's important to say this. There has never been an allegation that this guy has actually directly done anything to abuse children. He's pled guilty to the child pornography charges, but there's never been an allegation that he's actually done anything to the kids. But you can imagine if you're a parent with children who are already vulnerable, the kinds of things that you would be worried about would happen in that classroom. A district spokesperson also told a newspaper reporter about a month or two ago, he was never alone in the classroom with these students because they're aides. Obviously you're working with autistic kids. It's kind of a high maintenance situation. He was always with aides, and the parents knew for a fact that wasn't true. And the district since told us, you know what, we shouldn't have said that because we can't vouch for where he was at every moment of the day. So these parents just feel very understandably, I think, like they have been jerked around. And the district's position is, look, he was only accused. He had only been arrested. The rights of the accused, people who you're innocent until proven guilty. Had we told parents that this arrest had happened and then it turned out that the charges were bogus, or we would have essentially ruined this guy's career and his life. These employees have due process rights, all of which is true. So it's a very interesting and very difficult sort of quandary for the district. I respect that, but you can understand why
when there is a suspicion of abuse of children, that was to be reported.
It is. What the district said is nobody told us until April. Nobody told us anything. Nobody told us there was an investigation in 2008. He was interviewed in 2009. Nobody told us back then. That is what they are claiming. Now, we got some sort of equivocal responses from some people in law enforcement. One who said we did notify the school district, but they wouldn't tell us when. So it's a very difficult situation to suss out. But you could see if I was a parent of a kid in that situation, I would be outraged simply because I would just you're nervous, you're fearful, you're worried, and all you know is you are not. The district is not being upfront with you. Of course, you're going to assume the worst in that situation. Of course, you're going to fear the worst.
Good heavens!
So it's really a mess, and it may be. We of course, when we were doing this story, had no idea that this other thing was coming down the pike with this security guard. You put these things together, and maybe the district needs to have a conversation about how they're going to handle this stuff.
Now, the other thing you're talking about. Wait. Are you talking about more? There's more than one.
This other case that's basically been reported basically in the dailies and the TV stations, which is this case involving a security guard. And again, there are questions.
And that's about actual sexual abuse.
Alleged abuse. How long the district sat on that? How careful they were about all? Did they follow up on these complaints? Apparently, Chief Fadsden, who just got ousted from the district,
too.
He apparently sent a letter several years ago saying, I want to be on the record as saying this guy needs to go.
Wow. But that guy didn't go, but he went.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's an interesting situation. The other story, I have a column in there about the ACLU lawsuit. Which is
charging racial.
Yeah, that essentially
discrimination in the police hiring.
The entire hiring process is the allegation. Is just there are things that are happening at every given step of the game. I've also been doing some stuff online about it too. It's interesting. The police force right now is about 16% black, but that's because of a large number of officers who have been around for
a million years.
They were hired back when the police department was under a consent decree that essentially required them to hire, for every white male they hired, they had to hire a black female, a black male, and a white female. They had to hire in groups of 4, touching all those bases. God only knows what would have happened if we'd had a larger Hispanic population at the time. Oh, my God. You'd have to hire people in batches of 20 or something, depending on if the city were more diverse than it was. But so what you've really got is a situation that is really boiling up to be something down the road, because these guys are going to retire. Half of the city's black police officers are master police officers. Where the average length of service is about 19 years. You can retire we can retire at full benefits after 20 years. So
okay, so they're
you
all
get a sense that these guys, I mean, they're not going next year. You also have to be 50 years old to actually get the benefits. So they're not all going to be going next year or whatever, but you get this sense that, whereas if you look at the police officer level, those just holding the ranks of police officer, this is kind of your entry-level position, 93% of
white.
Police officers at that level are white. And that's because they've had a decade of classes where they've hired literally a handful of black officers. So what you really just see is this demographic thing coming down the pike. If you think that there's a problem with police-community relations right now, and if you think that part of the reason that is because there aren't enough black police officers,
it's going to get a lot worse.
You could see where the trend is really in a bad way.
Well, I mean, I read the allegations that the ACLU made and about the hiring process, and it does seem that there are all these subjective opportunities for just total subjectivity, and obviously nepotism and cronyism and I knew his dad,
right.
And so we're.
Well, I think it's obviously it's the complaint, so of course it makes it sound like the worst of all possible worlds. There, I mean, some of the things the ACLU has said have been specifically denied by the city. For example, the ACLU claims that there's this thing called the Chiefs Roundtable, which is sort of the last stage of this. It's where Chief Harper and other command level staff get together and sort of make the final, call on which of the candidates they're going to hire. The allegation in the ACLU complaint is that photos, when they look at these, the resumes, as it were, and the test scores, that there are photos of the officers. I have been told by the city's director of personnel that is absolutely not the case, that photos are not handled. Now, I don't know that that's true or whatever, but there are pushback on some of these allegations. The city also says, and this is in the complaint too, the city says, look, the two officers who are the plaintiffs here, yeah, they did well in their tests. But there's this final stage. You do a polygraph with those top candidates. You do a background check on the top candidates. And frankly, some of them had worrisome things in their history. The allegation is that one of the plaintiffs had acknowledged during the polygraph exam to smoking pot upwards of 1,000 times. The other officer had some moving violations, which would seem to me to be a terribly disqualifying thing, but also bad recommendations from employers. So, the argument there is like, look, maybe you got this far, but maybe there was stuff in your background that just didn't make you qualified for the position. So all that stuff has to come out. I mean, I would say that the problem for the city, of course, is you want to discredit these two guys on the basis of moving violation stuff. And just days before, you promoted George Trotsky, who's an officer who has documented allegations against himself, which seem at least as serious, if not more so, to a lot of people. So I frankly think they should only hire cops who've smoked pot 800 times.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, what?
Yeah.
If you were to ask your staff.
Right. No, as I say, we only hire people who smoke pot. Yeah, there are drug tests here, and if you don't meet a certain minimum threshold, you don't get the job.
Good Lord.
Oh, Jess is looking furtively around the room right now. I just want to say, so it's an interesting thing, and I think sort of the thing you kind of come to is, and I'll have something about this up online later today. I went back and I looked at when this consent decree requiring these hiring quotas was lifted.
Yeah, when was it?
It was 1991. There were a handful of white officers who said it constituted reverse discrimination. And it's very interesting. It was Judge Cohill, I believe, who issued the ruling. And it was a 40-page long ruling to lift this consent decree. And the amazing thing about it is Cohill says, when we throw out these quotas, there is no question but that recruitment of black officers and female officers will drop. And he's very clear about that. And he says, I hope the city will continue to do outreach. The city says that it will, and I hope they will, but there's no question. But I can't allow the decree to stand because I can't prove that the intention behind these policies was discriminatory. I can't conclude that there was discriminatory intent, only discriminatory effect. Therefore, I'm letting up I'm releasing the decree. But it's amazing. You go back and you look at news accounts at the time, and all these officers are like, yep, I can tell you what's going to happen. There's going to be a declining number of black officers, and we're going to end up right back where we started.
Yeah,
and that is absolutely where we headed, because we're now doing recruitment. The recruitment now, the levels of recruiting, when you look at these new classes, about 4% black officers. That's exactly the same as it was in the years just before the consent decree was levied in 1975. We have basically come full circle in 40 years as far as the hiring goes.
God. Do you have some nice story that you can, like, is there any good news that you would like to report? It's a nice day.
It is.
I don't know.
My kid recognizes the color red now.
Does he?
Of course, because he's my son. Of course, he's going to recognize red. So yeah, he's got words and stuff. You want to try? You want to try a word quiz?
Yeah.
See if you recognize these. Okay, I'll start with an easy one. Waggy. What do you think
Wagon
waggy means? Exactly. Good. That's a good one. That was an easy one. Gip.
Get?
No. It's a thing.
Is it a noun?
It's a thing. Yeah.
Gip?
Gip.
Cup?
No.
Gip.
A grape.
All right.
This
okay.
This is my personal favorite. A guck guck.
A guck guck?
A guck guck.
Guck guck. I have no idea.
It's a bird. And the reason it's a bird is because...
it makes that noise?
No, it's because the first birds he ever looked at were pictures of ducks. And we would always say, what's a duck say? Quack, quack. So guck guck became as close as he could get to that. And now all birds
are guck
gucks. Yeah. Yeah, we noticed that on the beach vacation. Yeah. It's very interesting to see like kind of how language gets acquired, and they just try to associate it with certain things. So night is what he says when he goes to bed, but it's also his word for upstairs because that's where we take him to go to bed. So he's climbing upstairs. He's got a little car that like a little stroller car, and he calls that his beep beep because it's got a little horn that you beep beep on. Sure. So he sees it and he goes beep beep.
You know what I think's funny about little kids is how they can't wave. Do you know how when you wave they do this? No, they do this.
No, he's always done this sort of.
Has he done that? Limp wrist.
Yeah, well.
No, but I think most
better
babies,
that than so many other outcomes.
Most they just don't. They go.
Yeah.
I think that's. Who knows?
Yeah.
We were talking before about he will have no memory of this time in his life.
Which is why I try to put this stuff out there onto the internet so
he can look it up later.
Countless thousands of strangers will be able to say, you used to call birds guck gucks. And just embarrass him for life. So I hope everybody out there will join me in doing that as he matures.
I remember. Have you gone to the zoo yet?
We did just last week, actually, with my mother.
Did he like that?
He liked the flamingos an awful lot.
The guck gucks. Did he recognize them as birds?
No, I don't think so.
Probably not. Too big.
Elephants freaked him out. It's just the elephant has a smell, and they're just big, and they were inside. They weren't outside. I guess it was so hot they couldn't really be outside, so they were just inside, and they are very large
beasts.
Yes.
Well, I remember the first time I took my son to the zoo, and I was like, I'd say, look at that giraffe. Look at that.
And they're just like...
And you know what he's doing? He's pointing left and right. You know at what? He was fascinated by?
People's shoes?
Pigeons.
Oh, yeah. Right. Or the fish that...
The guck gucks. All over the place. He just kept looking at the pigeons. I thought, I paid admission for this. We could have got...
What do you mean? You got free pigeons along with the rest of yours. It's a deal for you. Quit your complaining. Also, they have peacocks that just run around.
Yeah, that just walk around. Yeah.
They aren't the zoo birds, apparently. They just... they just set up... They just roost there. And the zoo... They were not like... It's not like they were in a cage and they got away, or that the zoo encouraged them. They're just there.
Wait a minute.
I'm telling you now.
Peacocks don't live in this... I don't know how... winter?
I guess they do.
Where'd they come from?
I don't know. Wherever peacock eggs. I think that's the answer to that question.
I've seen those peacocks just walking around.
Yeah, they are not zoo animals. They're animals who live in the zoo.
This was a good place to...
I guess so, yeah.
To set up shop.
Yeah.
Well, how odd.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Terrible birds, by the way.
What do you mean? They're not nice?
I mean, they're just... some friends of my family who lived in Albuquerque, they had like peacocks in their backyard, and they're just the most raucous animals you could possibly imagine.
You mean they party?
They're up at like 5 a.m, and the sound of a peacock is
very shrill.
Very shrill and harsh.
Right.
Yeah. Not what you want to wake up to.
But it's the peahens are nothing. It's those guys with their...
It's always the guys.
With their displays.
Exactly.
Woo-wee! Hey, ladies, look at these. All right, that's it.
That's how we should end.
That's how we're ending.
All right.
And as usual, Mr. Potter, thank you very much. Thank you for putting up with us. If you, in fact, have, for all we know, no one's left.
So it just impressed me. Bye.
We'll leave. Goodbye. Sokolowski tomorrow.
Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pgh citypaper.com. Email Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.